Boirov, Maseches Bava Kama Daf Yudches Amud Aleph, 18a, Yudches Amud Aleph Bava Kama. And the line starts with the word Minei, and we just have to review a few lines which we learned last year in order to get into today's shiur. Boirov. We're talking about tzeroros here. Tzeroros means when an animal walks down the street, regular regel, sometimes it could be shen also. And really, although midoraisa, logically it should have been nezek sholem, because tzeroros is regel and the result and the cause and the effect are pretty close to each other. The cause is the animal stepping on, let's say, a stone, and then the stone hits another object and breaks it in a different location, and that's called tzeroros. I would call it semi-direct. It's not really indirect. It's pretty soon. It's not a delayed reaction. It's hardly a chain reaction. It's pretty direct, but not very direct, not Gufo mamish. It's koi called. And therefore, in such a case, it's called tzeroros. It should have been nezek sholem, but the Torah made the gzeras hakosav v'locham shem Sinai that it is chatzi nezek. Who disagrees with all that? And he'll be again our guest of the Sumchus. You guys rock right from the beginning of the week. You're holding. Sumchus is one who holds that it's nezek sholem. Boy, Rob asks a question after the line. The line starts with the word minei, about above the middle of the page. And that's actually Chazor from last week, and we have 1 minute for Chazorah. Chatzi nezek tzeroros meGufo meshalem aliyah meshalem. That was the question of Rove. Chatzi nezek, that chatzi nezek tzeroros, so you pay. How do you pay it? Do you pay it meGufo? Do you pay it meGufo, meaning that the actual payment is done from the body of the animal, the rooster or the bull, whoever that is, as long as you have enough money in the body of the mazik, you pay, in other words, you don't, like show tam, which pays half a nezek, or me'aliyah meshalem, or do you pay, I would call it the regular way. You pay it from the best of your land, from your assets, whatever. That's the question. What are the two tzdodim? What are the Gemara now elaborates on the two different sides? meGufo mishalem deloy ashkechan chatzi nezek de mishalem aliyah. Maybe you should pay meGufo, because at the end of the day, when we look around previous information, we never found loy ashkechan, we never found half nezek that you pay from aliyah. The only other half nezek, there are two half nezeks in the world of Bava Kama. Only two half nezeks, right? There are two cousins. What are they? Tzeroros and who else pays chatzi nezek? I know you know. Tam. Mr. Tam, right? The Tam. So the Tam, he pays chatzi nezek. So maybe his cousin tzeroros is the same. Because whenever found chatzi nezek, they pays from the best of the land. They usually pay from Gufo. Or maybe me'aliyah meshalem. Or maybe I can say the other way. He should pay the normal way from regular assets, from the best assets. Whenever found somebody that is ki'uche, a nezek that's normal, a nezek that's shen v'regel, which is normal behavior of an animal, that pays half nezek. And therefore, maybe the tzeroros should really pay what? Mi aliyah, because it's normal. At the end of the day, it's a shen v'regel kind of nezek, tzeroros. So maybe you should pay a full for sure. But maybe you should pay, you're only paying half, not full. But maybe you should pay mi aliyah from the best, because usually shen v'regel, they pay from the best of the land, not from the body, from Gufo. Toshma. So now we want to bring a raya. We're still reviewing, even though it's 9:27. Hidus ein muad, v'yesh omrim arei ze muad. The question about hidus, what's hidus? Hidus is not the hadas. Dancing around, jumping around. What's his name? The rooster jumps around, and some people say it's muad, some say it's not muad. Frag the Gemara, hidus al kedaitach. You want to tell me for a chicken to dance around and jumping around is not called normal? Would anybody argue and say that it is not muad? It's normal for the chicken to hop around. He didn't go to a finishing school to learn how to walk nicely. So, so Mivela, what are you telling me? That it is muad or not muad? Of course it's muad. Elalav must be hidus vehitis. What's hidus vehitis? Hidus and he spritzed. It is. He splashed. He sent some, what's the name? Some pebbles flying. And that's why it's called tzeroros. Tzeroros. Look, we have a machlokes whether tzeroros is called tam or muad. What does that mean? The Ba'akam Iflagi must be the Machloikis Tanoim is exactly the question of Rove. Mandoma Eino Muad, the one who says that it's not Muad. What does mean not Muad? Kasovo meGufo Mishalem. It's not Muad, it's more similar to Tam, and you pay meGufo. I'm not going to translate again and again what meGufo means. I trust you all know what meGufo means, yeah? Now you buckle your seats and we're flying, and we say Gufo is from his own body, as long as the worth of the nezek is contained in the body of the mazik. Yay, we all know that. So because of that, meGufo mishalem, because Eino Muad means it's a tam meGufo, Mandoma Muad, Kasova Mania mishalem. The one who says tzeroros is Muad means it's normal, regular nezek. Look, all other nezokim except for tam, you pay from the aliyah, from the good money, exterior money. So here, Rov's question is by itself, is of its own, Mechloikis Tanoim. Here, Rava, you have Mechloikis Tanoim. What's your question? Says the Gemara, not necessarily so. I can interpret the Mechloikis in a more classical, so to speak, normal way. You know, what do they mean when they say whether tzeroros is muad or not muad? Very simple. According to Tanakama, what is it? It is like tam. It's similar to tam. It's similar to non-muad because you pay half. And according to Sumchus, you pay full, as we all know. And that's Machloikis. But Enochinami could be that everybody agrees that it is the way you pay. You should realize there's always two questions. Don't get them confused. There's a question how much you pay. There's a question how do you pay, your mode of payment. These are two separate questions. Rav is now focusing on one, and that's going to be the focus of this year today from the beginning till the end. Rav is now focusing on one question. How do you pay tzeroros? How do you pay tzeroros? Do you pay tzeroros meGufo or from aliyah? That's the question. How much you pay? That's old stuff. We know that already. How much do you pay? You either pay half if you are the mainstream opinion or bonon, or pay in full, and that's Sumchus. How do you pay? Is Machlokas Rava, but with himself. Is Rava's own internal question. How do you pay? What kind of payment do you give? What's your mode of payment? Now, that was not resolved. You want to bring me a question from Hidu Sahin, Hidu Saher. The Hidu Sidus question was just Machlokas Tanakama and Sumchus. That's not news. I'm asking a different question. How do you pay? meGufo or meAliyah? And that question is not yet resolved. To Shma. Now we're starting today's shiur, Baruch Hashem. This shiur is dedicated to Nishmas of Imoiri, Menachem ben Akiva, Elul Nishmas, so Bas Moshe, Tzila Bas Ben Zion, Us Bas Sholem, Yudis Bas Rivka. Osher ben Ozno, Mesov Shachol Yisrael. Question before the shiur started. I'm being so nice today. Okay. There's the Gemara starting today's shiur. Toshma HaKelev Vehuntale. The Kelev Shenotal Charoro Veolach Legodish. A Kelev, a dog, took a hot cake. It's a cake that he likes to eat. This dog likes cakes. It's a French dog. Veolach Legodish. He went to the haystack. He ate the actual cake, and he lit the godish. He set the godish on fire with the charoro. There's a question how he did it, big machloeksim, and question how exactly that was done. One normal way, which we probably have already in our mind's eyes, is that the dog threw it on the floor. That's one way of understanding it. He threw the hot cake on the floor, and that caused the whole fire. That's one possible way of seeing it. So he did two things. He ate the cake, and also he set on fire the godish, the whole haystack, the whole hay thing. For the choror, he pays full nezek, because that's called what? Shein ezach. Shein nezek sholem. He pays shein, right? On the godish, he pays half. Now, it's a big machlokas Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish exactly what the story is, and unfortunately, we're not entering it today. We have enough on our plate today. But basically speaking, chatzi nezek is because it's tzeroros, because the fire is tzeroros. My time, it says the Gemara, la mishum de'avilu tzeroros. In other words, there are two ways of looking at it. Let's say the dog threw it from his mouth. He liked the top part he ate, that was nice, but the bottom part was hot. He threw it on the floor, so to speak, on the ground where the haystack is. So in that place, he pays what? Either nezek shalom or half. It's a machloikes. And the rest of the fire, or even if he placed it gently with his mouth and he directly hit the floor with it, So on that part, he pays nezek shalom. On the actual spot where the source of fire was, he may pay nezek shalom. But the rest of the fire that was spreading is tzeroros. Imagine, as I told you, tzeroros is not a very indirect thing. Just like when you hit the pebble and the pebble is sent flying and then hit something, you pay half a nezek. Yeah, because it's boom and then another boom right away. It's an immediate chain reaction. So too with fire. He threw it on the floor, boom, that's direct nezek. Even placed it is real direct. And the rest of the fire that spread and spread and spread is tzeroros. You can argue on that when we'll get there. It's not so much the issue today. The graphics here is actually not the main point. The main point is that fire is, from the dog's owner point of view, it's tzeroros. It's not a direct hit, direct nezek. The cake is shen, very nice and tasty, and then the fire that hit and spread over the entire haystack or hay field of whatever, that's already called tzeroros. You can argue and ask about it, and we'll see one more tweak later on. Let's just accept it now. It's ours because when the fire spreads, it's not the very immediate thing. The dog himself didn't go, meter by meter and burnt it. The fire spread by itself. In a way, that's like tzeroros, like the thing sent flying over. Okay, so now Vitaniolo. So what do you want from Rava? By the way, we are now still trying to figure out Rava's doubt. Remember, put one window in your mind, and that is we are now in search to try and figure out the question of Rava. When tzeroros are being paid, how are they paid? meGufo or aliyah? That's the question. And we see a case of tzeroros. A dog eats the cake, throws the cake on the floor, tzeroros starts spreading in the form of fire. Vitaniolo, and it says over there, Mishalim chatzi nezek meGufo. Okay, very good. Here's the answer. So nice and easy. It says that the tzeroros that the dog pays for, and it says outright. It doesn't say tzeroros, by the way. We assume it's tzeroros. We understand that it's tzeroros, and it says you pay the chatzi nezek tzeroros from the body of the dog. If the dog is only worth, 1,000 shekels, and the haystack or the hayfield, or it could be expensive, cornfield, is worth much more, and the dog is worth 1,000, you only pay 1,000. Not a mess, nothing more than that. Okay? Oh, very nice. We found a solution for Rava. You wish. Things only start spreading now. Okay? In other words, so far we think that the Brisa talks, we just have to go stage by stage. Stage number one, that was a nice, promising beginning, the honeymoon of the Sugya. Also nice. This is tzeroros. It says outright tzeroros is chatzi nezek. It says chatzi nezek meGufo. Life is beautiful. Rava got his answer. Half it's tzeroros nezek, half nezek tzeroros. It's based from Gufo. But, the plot thickens. V'tizbero. Now comes another factor to the sugya. His name is Rabi Elazar, and he's going to give us a very, very hard time. V'tizbero, according to your superficial looking at the sugya, look what's going to happen. Is that what you think? V'tizbero. Rabi Elazar, nezek sholem meGufo mi ashkechon. Rabi Elazar is not mentioned here as part of the Brisa, but the Gemara knows that there is a Rabi Elazar there. And Rabi Elazar said over there that you pay nezek sholem. That is going to give us a very hard time. We're entering the gym now. Yeah, in other words, Rabi Elazar says that that dog's owner has to pay full nezek, the entire field, full nezek, nezek sholem, and we still assume that this is what? Nezek sholem because of tzeroros. Could Rabi Elazar say tzeroros is nezek sholem? Have we ever heard such a thing, tzeroros is nezek sholem? Yes or no? Yes. Meir Rabi Elazar is a fan of Sumchus. What do you want from his life? Here, he's a Sumchus fan, and he says he votes for Sumchus. Sumchus.com, only Sumchus on the T-shirt. So maybe Lavdil. Rabi Elazar will tell you nezek sholem meGufo, right? Is what? Is nezek sholem because it's Sumchus supporter. Says the Gemara, you can't say that. I'm repeating the same words of the Gemara now more in depth. Rabi Elazar nezek sholem meGufo mi ashkechan. It can't be meGufo. Think again. According to Rabi Elazar, if you want to tell me he's Sumchus, how does Sumchus view tzeroros? As what? What are tzeroros according to Sumchus? Regular, full damage. Regular, regel. Sumchus says, I don't know what you want from my life. I went to Cheder, to Yeshiva. I went to the best version of Panovich. I don't know. I never learned about tzeroros being what? Being chatzi nezek. So what does he view tzeroros as? Regular nezek, regular shen, regular regel. Right? That's what Sumchus sees. Now, regular, full payment, yeah? You pay full, you pay full, you pay in full, you pay in full. You pay in full, and it's regular shen or regel. Is there any half a minute to say that you paid meGufo? Can't be. Rabbi Elazar never argued on Gufo. If so, since the Brisa said over there, you pay meGufo, Gufo can only play the game of, wait a minute, tzeroros chatzi nezek, it's on one hand it's chatzi nezek, so it should be Gufo. On the other hand, it's normal, regular, and shen should be whole. That's very nice to toy with the idea if you're regular and chacham. No questions we are in North Korea now. Yeah, but according to Rabbi Elazar, if you want to say Rabbi Elazar is a sumchus fan, so how could he ever say that you pay meGufo? Because according to him, it's full nezek and regular behavior. Regular behavior, shen regular, and it's just a regular nezek. There's no such thing as tzeroros. It's a regular guy. There's no such thing as paying meGufo. So must be, anyways, you can't understand that brisa that way. Must be there's another way of understanding the brisa altogether. If there's something very quick and to the point, it's think, then yes, otherwise no. No further idea. No tzeroros. Some questions are like, no, thank you. We really have to be on the flow. That, by the way, is understanding number one. That the Brisa talks about tzeroros, and I would say cannot be tzeroros. Because if this is tzeroros, and Rabbi Elazar argues nezek shalom, because he's a sumchus supporter, then he can't be meGufo. You can't pay meGufo, and lo matzanu ever in history of the world that you pay full nezek on regular behavior, and that should be meGufo. Can't be. Gufo is either when it's crazy or when it's half nezek, but it's regular behavior. And it's also nezek shalom, no Gufo, it doesn't stick. As the Pasuk says, very nice. I agree with you, very nice. Ella, now we're going to mode, we may have mode A, B, and C. Now let's go to a new understanding of the Brisa. By the way, this understanding is pushed off. It can't be regular tzeroros. If this is regular tzeroros and sumchus says nezek shalom, it can't be meGufo, not a shidduch. Now we're going to mode A. Ella, must be. Let's call it mode A. Kigon deshani beho begacheles. He did crazy tzeroros. New idea, new breed. He changed in the tzeroros of gacheles, which means he took it with his hand. Instead of putting it with his mouth, as we all imagine, placing with the mouth, he took it with his paw, hand. I say hand on purpose because that's a Lashon Mishnah and Rishonim. The front legs of the animals are always called hands. I know it's called a paw in English. Yeah. So now he took it with his paw and he placed it in a way that's very strange. Usually dogs, they don't take the hot cake and place it carefully like a Yekish secretary, putting it over here, right dafka on that spot. He's behaving too intelligently, unless he was trained for it, I don't know. Yeah, but Lamaisa, he did that tzeroros in the Meshunidik crazy way. And now we're entering a new Havana in the Sugya. So now, you know the story, says Rashi? Shani Ba'agacheles, says Rashi. Rashi says Natolo b'five enicha, but later Rashi says b'yodoi. And I like Yodoi more. Rashi, I don't know, he's contradicting himself. I guess I misunderstood Rashi. But the Master Rashi later on says Yodoi. He says it in Amud Beis. Could be, very nice. Yecholiot ve'enicha b'yodoi. He took it in his mouth, he ate, then he took it off his mouth, more like a chimpanzee, intelligent, yeah? He took it and then he placed it on the haystack. Bekitzer did it in a crazy way. So now, says... Right, it's Mishinui. Now this is tzeroros of Keren. That's cool. In other words, it's tzeroros, it's a new breed which we only found now. Yeah, we just found a new guy in town. It's called tzeroros of Meshunedik. Now, says Rashi, we must say here, before we continue, that everybody in the Brisa are Sumchus supporters. Why? Because regular tzeroros would be what? Regular tzeroros would be full damage. Very good. Because it's nutty and crazy and unexpected. I didn't know my dog knows how to do that. Mimela what? Mimela, it is half a nezek, and really should be half nezek lekula alma. So what does Rabbi Elazar say full nezek? Says the Gemara, Rabbi Elazar sovelo ki Rab Tarfon. Remember Rab Tarfon? Of course you do. Rab Tarfon says the Omar meshuna keren b'chotzar nizak nezek shalem mishalem. Says the Gemara, you know, this is a regular be'etzem case of keren. A keren, how much do you pay for keren tam for first or second offense? Answer carefully. How much? half or half, whichever one, yeah. Everyone agrees to that in all cases, in all accounts, or maybe somebody disagrees? What happens if you went into my field, into my garage, in my place? Yeah, my home is my castle. You went into my castle, and with your dog for the first time in his life bit my little cutesy catty. How much do you pay according to Rab Tarfon? Well, full nezek. Machloikes of Tarfon Rabbanon. Rab Tarfon says that chatzi nezek, not chatzi nezek, the tam in the domain of the nizak, my home is my castle. When you come to me, mister, that's the rules are different, and there's a reason behind it. Kal v'chomer, we'll see later. Says Rab Tarfon, you pay in full. So that this is be'etzem just a regular machlokas of chatzi nezek of keren, which happens to be tzeroros according to simchus. It's not so difficult, guys. We're talking here really tzeroros is sumchus. Nezek shalom, good. But this tzeroros happens to be crazy nutty. He's doing it to his mouth and the hand, the whole acrobatics over there. And therefore, how much do you pay? Oh, depends who you ask. According to Chachamim, you pay chatzi nezek, because that's what we learned in Kita Daled. And according to Rab Tarfon, you pay nezek shalom, because this is what? This is keren, in chotz nizak, nezek shalom, shalom. So nice. This is the easiest thing you've ever seen in your life. You pay half an nezek. That surprises you. That surprises you. What? The Torah doesn't say otherwise. The Torah doesn't differentiate about chatzi nezek, and nor in the Bible it says that chatzi nezek changes. Rab Tarfon is a whole lomdus of kal v'chomer, different stories. Chachamim say chatzi nezek stays chatzi nezek all over the place. Doesn't make a difference where. Rab Tarfon has his own reason why chatzi nezek is shusa nizak. That's not mind-boggling actually. Yeah, it is very normal what they say. Rab Tarfon is mechadish kal v'chomer, which we will mention later on today. I'm not saying it now because I don't want to confuse you. Okay, but because I'll be with you in a second. But basically, this is mode number A. This is the first module, the way to understand the Bryce. Again, the Bryce here talks about what? It talks about tzeroros, true. Tzeroros, according to Sumchus, no news, nothing exciting, regular nezek shalom. Elamai, this tzeroros was nutty. This tzeroros was crazy because he took it from his mouth, and he placed it to his hand. That's not dog behavior, not canine behavior. And therefore what? How much do you pay? Depends who you ask. According to Chachamim, chatzi nezek, and according to Rab Tarfon, nezek shalom. And Rabbi Elazar is a Rab Tarfon's fan. Give me T, give me A, give me R. Yeah, Rab Tarfon. I'm with you, Rabbi, from Cherry Hill. Here he came.
Does everybody agree that?
Says Gemara, Lohi. The Gemara says, theory number 1A, Lohi. You may be right, but it's not necessarily right. I don't know if you're right when you tell me what, that this is regular keren, basically mishuna dikatzoros, just crazy behavior, which you have to pay half. According to Tarfon, you pay full. No, says the Gemara, it may be right, but not necessarily right. That's how Rashi defines it. And the Gemara goes on to explain now module number 2, B. My time, why was it? What forced you to bring Rabbi Tarfon to the story? Mishum nezek shalom. Mishum nezek shalom. Because of nezek shalom, right? We were surprised. How can you say nezek shalom? What is the main problem here? This is something you all have to know very well all the way through. The problem is Rabi Elazar can never tell me such a funny thing, Keilu, that it's tzeroros, right? According to Sumchus, and it's called normal, and everything is good. And you pay what? meGufo. You can't pay Gufo on something that is regular, shen and regel, right? Full payment on normal behavior, the classical thing which Lahavdil of adults, even Tim McKenzie knows, no Gufo there. It just doesn't stick. Yeah. So what forced you to run into Rab Tarfon's arms and tell you, it's nezek shalom because this is crazy behavior, and it's nezek shalom because Rab Tarfon holds that in the place of the nizek, nezek shalom. You know what? I have another solution. I agree it's a problem. I have solution B, not solution A. Here comes solution B. Listen. The Omar nezek shalom, nezek shalom shalom. Yes. Ablozo holds sumchus. That is true. You're screaming. How can you say nezek shalom in meGufo? Here comes the new rabbi. The new rabbis today all the time. Sabalok Rabbi Yehuda. He holds a Rabbi Yehuda. What did Rabbi Yehuda say? Rabbi Yehuda is the first. We never saw Rabbi Yehuda before. The Omar tzad tamus bimkoima oimedes. What does that mean? Rabbi Yehuda has a shita, and we're not going now to explain exactly why, because we're just explaining the words now. Rabbi Yehuda holds that when a chore gores first time, and we all know he pays half meGufo. Second time, only half, only meGufo. Third time, we tell the Mister, don't tell me you didn't expect it. Yesh gvul, as I like to say, and therefore you pay what? Nezek shalom. And how do you pay it? Ma'aliyah. You pay the full nezek, you take the best of your land, or the best of your toys, or the subin, whatever, and pay, Mister, and we're done with your nonsense, okay? No defunding the police by us. So now what do you say? Oh, but Rabbi Yehuda says the other way. Rabbi Yehuda, not exactly the other way. Rabbi Yehuda says differently. He says when Muad pays, listen carefully because that's the whole Rabbi Yehuda. When Muad pays, he pays half from Gufo and half from Aliyah. In other words, a Muad is like tam plus half. There's two halves. The half of tam remains kilu tam. And let's say the Muad gored a shein show that's worth 2,000 shekels. How much does he have to pay? 2,000 shekels. However, half he pays Ma'aliyah from the best of the land, and the other half he pays meGufo. And if he's not worth it, he'll get less than, please, Rabbeinu, only started the thing. Yeah, not. Vega. Yeah, in other words, yeah, get me? Rabbi Yehuda says you pay half. Even in Muad, you pay half meGufo, and half you pay Ma'aliyah. So Mimena, now the Gemara wants to say, and I'm continuing the Gemara, and then I'll hear you, V'chik tani meGufo, that word that grated on your ears, Gufo, in nezek shalom, can't be. At Tzad Tammuz, it goes on Tzad Tammuz, which means because the rooster really was tzeroros, which was normal tzeroros. We're not in mode A now, we're in mode B. Mode B is what? This is regular tzeroros, yeah? Regular tzeroros. Everybody believes in what? At least Rabi Elazar, excuse me, believes in sumchus. And you pay what? Nezek shalom, because tzeroros are the normal nezek shalom. Ma pitom Gufo. How can Rabbi Elazar say Gufo? Ma pitom. You know why? Because Rabbi Elazar believes in Rabbi Yehuda that says that even a regular muad pays half meGufo, half Ma'aliyah. This guy also, this kelev that burned the Godish will have to, is normal, but it's normal like a shor muad, not better than that. Just like a shor muad pays half meGufo, half momo in Aliyah, so too our doggy over here, his owner will have to pay half Gufo and half Aliyah. That's what it means, Tammuz. But really, we are talking about tzeroros, and therefore Rava's question may yes be able to be answered. We are talking about tzeroros. Don't forget Rav. Rav is in the background. He's on the top left side of the screen, yeah? Rav still has a question, Gufo or not Gufo? And now we're back to square, no, not back to, now we're saying the idea is really tzeroros. It's tzeroros which are normal. It's a question of sumchos and rabbanon, and everyone agrees it's meGufo. So the chor tzeroros is paid meGufo. Yes.
Starts off as
I don't know.
the fourth time,
or the fifth would be okay. It's a very good question, which I honestly don't know. I'm not holding that sugya. I just prepared this. My preparation was very focused on the back and forth here more than the background. A very good question, which we will discuss in Hashem in Daf Lamet Tes Amud Beis. Stay tuned in about 20 dapim from now. Amalei, but now comes a very, very strong question on that. Everyone's okay? Are we okay in that? Yeah? Amalei, Rav Sama Bred Ravashi Ravina. Rav Sama, the son of Ravashi, asked Ravina a very, very strong question on what we just said. What we just said is illogical. Why? Eimu, this is true, the Shomat Leil Rabbi Yehuda, Betam Benasa Muad. A tam that became muad, as you very well chapped, a tam that became muad, we say he started off as tam, which is Gufo, again Gufo. Even after he became muad, it's like they say, you can take a New Yorker out of New York, you can't take New York out of the New Yorker, right? The Chula Tel Aviv is the same, don't worry. Yeah, so Mimela, yeah, you can take the tamus from the muad. He became a big boy, he's a muad, but really inside half of him is a tam. Meaning, you still pay for half a nezek, according to Rabbi Yehuda. Half of the full nezek that he pays as a tam is still paid like what? Like a tam, meGufo. It's not hard. Half Gufo, half muad.
once you graduate,
No,
The muad, forget about town.
that's not what Rabbi Yehuda holds. That's Chachamim, and that's Halacha L'Maisa. Rabbi Yehuda says no. Rabbi Yehuda says, and he has his reasons, which I don't know now. Rabbi Yehuda says this is like Rabbi Yehuda says a tam that became muad because he was tam. Once tam, always a tam. He has an additional thing, malbishim alav, an extra thing, half of me'aliyah. But listen to the question. Our story over here is what? What's our story here? We are talking, according to Rabbi Elazar, who's a Sumchus fan, who talks in tzeroros, which is regular. B'muad mitchilasa shrai. B'muad mitchilasa, turn the page. Mishom aslei. This is not crazy that became normal. It's always normal. This is what? This is regular. What behavior, according to Rabbi Elazar, that is tzeroros. Mechites, you have half a tam. Where did tam hail from? Again, you get the question. You're trying to tell me that meGufo is because it's similar to regular muad, and even the shor muad is half Gufo, half not. That's not the story over here. According to Sumchus, tzeroros is not a combination of half and another half. Sumchus so far is a complete koifer in tzeroros. He doesn't believe in tzeroros b'chlal. For him, tzeroros is regular behavior, completo, and that's it. So this is like regular shen v'regel, nothing to do with tam that became muad, and therefore you don't have any aspect over here, any remains, any traces of Gufo. So again, back to square one. So what are we talking about? How can you tell me here that, again, we're back to square one? How can Rabbi Elazar, how on earth can Rabbi Elazar tell me what? How can he say that we're talking here about the nezek shalom, full payment, yeah, and nezek shalom, which is full payment, excuse me, regular behavior, sumchus, and still you believe it's Gufo? Ma pitom. Gufo just doesn't stick. There's no such thing as Gufo on regular full nezek. Back to square one. Don't tell me we have half here like a regular muad. Muad really was once a tam, and the little child with him remained the same, so to speak. He still retains the half of. This is not the case. He started off from the beginning of his life of tzeroros, was always considered to be nezek sholem as normal behavior. Ma pitom he should have half nezek Gufo. Hello. What? Not behaving nicely? Or? Ela Yud Ches Amud Beis, today's page. Ela Kikam Rabbi Elazar nezek sholem. You know when Rabbi Elazar said nezek sholem, Kigon de Ayayed. We're talking about tzeroros that happened 3 times. That animal, the dog or the rooster or whoever, repeated tzeroros 3 times over. Now, there are 2 explanations in Rashi. I'll follow one of them. One explanation of Rashi is, what happens when the behema behaved crazy tzeroros? Back to square one. Back to square one. Square one was what? We're talking about crazy behavior of tzeroros. Remember mode A? Remember mode A? Mode A was nati tzeroros. It's crazy tzeroros. And therefore what? We said before, crazy tzeroros is, well, should be chatzi nezek. Lekula alm is chatzi nezek. Now, what happens if you do crazy tzeroros 3 times? That's a question. You repeated tzeroros 3 times, I would say maybe it becomes nezek shalom. Maybe not. Maybe tzeroros is a gzeras hakosuv against all logic that tells you will always be chatzi nezek, because it's like a more indirect thing. I'm pushing a bit of human logic over here to help you guys. Get the question? When you have tzeroros repeated 3 times, do we say, well, it's Karen, and I was taught by Rabbi Markowitz at Kita Dalid that nezek 3 times is becoming full nezek at some point, so of course tzeroros becomes full, or maybe not. Maybe no. Tzeroros, to remind you, even when tzeroros is super normal, like walking in the street, it will still have. So tzeroros is some supernatural hashgacha elyono thing that tells you tzeroros is always half. I don't care if it's normal. Who cares if it's normal? Tzeroros is always normal, still remains chatzi nezek, or maybe no. Maybe we'll say no. Tzeroros being Karen follows Karen, becomes full. That's a shaila. So now, behokam iflagi, that's a machloikis of the Tanoim, Rabbi Elazar and Chachomim. Malsovar yesh ha'ador l'tzeroros. One of them, his name is Rabbi Elazar. He believes the ador is tzeroros. Ador, once tzeroros becomes a habit, becomes normal, or shows as the animal has special liking. He likes, it gets a kick out of, excuse the pun, of pushing and then boom, yeah, or putting the thing and seeing the fire going. It's a pyromaniac dog, yeah. He likes to place it and see the whole zach, arson, yeah, whatever. What? Nobody Dafka wants to place the cake in a strange way on the thing. So it became normal for him.
Shana is normal.
Like every muad. So do we say Malsav Yesh Adol Tzoros? Says Rabi Elazar, the party is over, and now you're going to have to pay nezek shalom. Or Malsav En Adol Tzoros. The other opinion or Chachomim, they would say no, there's no Adol Tzoros because Tzoros is always half nezek. Even the most normal placid animal, I don't care what it does, the most normal behavior, an animal walking down the street, the most normal thing in the world, yeah. So then still you pay half nezek regardless. It's not because of abnormalcy, it's because Hashem decided. So same thing when it's nezek shalom. That's a chikira over here. So l'choyer, that could be the machloikis. In other words, could be enechinami. Rather, therefore, we are talking in tzeroros. By the way, the whole question moving from mode A to B, are we talking in tzeroros dafka, lefi chachomim, or not talking in tzeroros? According to this module, yeah, we're again talking about regular tzeroros, became regular tzeroros, and the question is, do you pay full nezek or half nezek? But lemaisa, they both said Gufo. So Rava's question should be answered from here. Gufo, here Rava, you got your answer right. Look, be happy. Here we have Gufo. It says tzeroros, yes. The only question is 3 times over tzeroros becomes normal or still stays half later. But lemaisa, it says Gufo. So Rava can have his answer. Gufo or Aliyah? Gufo. Says the L'choyer, we came to a very nice end. Elo, again trouble. Oh, the boy, you okay? Yeah. Oh. No. You're preparing the next question. Say there. Don't be balabatish. You're already advanced from that. You're holding better than that. We can always say control the animal, but we have clear halachic gigdarim.
It's unusual anyways. Tzeroros, by definition, is a haphazard thing. So often you say 3 things, tzeroros, the exact same thing. Okay, there's obviously. Maybe
it's a kosher. He pays half because it's tzeroros.
No.
You're presenting one side and there's another side. Ella the boy Rove. Now, Ella says the Gemara, if you want to tell me that the argument between Rabi Elazar and Chachami precisely was about crazy tzeroros happening 3 times, if so, had the boy Rove asks the question later on in our page, Yesh adol tzeroros? That's exactly Rava's question as an Amira. Rava's Amira asks the question, if tzeroros repeats itself 3 times, does it develop into full nezek or does it stay half a nezek, right? That's what Rava himself is asking, yes or no. What do you mean? What kind of question is that? It's already before some machlokes, right? Ila Rabbanon en hadol tzeroros. If you follow Rabbanon, no, there's no hadol, even if the 10th time, 15th time it remains half nezek. Maybe Bezin will kill the dog already, and chinami. But Lamaisa, there's no nezek shalom is muad. Ila Ablazo, yesh adol tzeroros. According to Rabi Elazar, there is adol. It's like I would ask you, measure yourself, me asking you, I have a big question. How do you light your Hanukkah candles? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8? Or maybe you should start the other way, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. You'll think, oh, it's bigger amoritz than we thought, It's a very famous Meforshim Machlokes between the Misham and Bezil. I'm starting a new question about, you see it by the Reform sometimes. They say things in Meforshim the Gemara and they think it's a new question by them. I saw it recently, it was so funny. So, Bekitzer, in other words, well, what's a new question? How does Rav ask a question which is a Meforshim Machlokes Tanoim, right? He's presenting a new question. It's already old stuff. Machlokes Tanoim. If that's the way to read your pshat in the Brisa, that the question is, did tzeroros develop into full nezek or not? If that's the way you want to read it, and your name is Rava, then how do you, Rava, ask later on, what's the story about tzeroros? Well, it's Meforshim Machlokes. Amar lecha Rava, no. Says Rava, no. I can live with it. I can still live with both. I can live with my question and still understand the Brisa differently. Why? Amar lecha Rava. Kimi ba'ili ledidi aliba de Rabbanon de pliga le de sumchus. My question was, according to Rabbanon, that argue on sumchus. Rabbanon believe in what? Rabbanon believe that tzeroros are tzeroros, they have nezek, and possibly will always stay that way. The question comes, according to Rabbanon, when tzeroros becomes normal, it always was, but let's say, tzeroros, which was crazy, became normal, do we now pay nezek shalom, yes or no? But over here, in our Brisa, bein Rabbanon, bein Rabi Elazar, kisumchus v'irelu, the Amud tzeroros nezek shalom, mishalem. Here I can say that both Tanakam and Rabi Elazar hold like sumchus. The what? Do you pay nezek shalom? Oh, we're again getting very guarded. Wait. How can you say Rabbi Elazar holds like sumchus and you pay nezek shalom and you pay meGufo? Ma pitom, right? That's always the red area we're scared of getting into. If you're going to tell me, right, this is regular sumchus behavior, both Rabbanon, this is basically mamish back to square one. Both Rabbanon and Rabbi Elazar hold like sumchus. You pay nezek shalom. Nachon? Elamai? Oh, now we're getting crazy asking, ma pitom, how could you tell me that Rabbi Elazar holds nezek shalom, regular behavior, and Gufo? I'll give you the previous answer. The time am Omer Rabbanon Chatzi Nezek, the Shani, the Lo Ayed. Rabbanon say exactly like we said in square one, in module one. What did we say? Rabbanon believe half Nezek, Shani, the Lo Ayed. It happened one time or second time without being muad. It's crazy tzeroros. Crazy tzeroros pays how much? Half. Lekula alma, even within sumchus. Nachon, half nezek, crazy, you pay half. meGufo, how come Rabbi Elazar says nezek shalom? Ubeplukta b'tafon v'rabbanon kamiflagi. Very good. And the argument mechlekas of Tafon Rabbanon, which we said before, he believes that what? When you behave crazy in the person's own backyard, who's a nizak, you pay full nezek Tafon. Remember, my friends, we said, when we said Velohi, when we pushed away module 1, we didn't prove it wrong. We said it's not necessarily true, but Rabbi can always revert back to that. Again, let's summarize now. We have two ways of how to learn the Brisa, basically. Either we say that this is basically everyone holds like sumchus, everyone holds like sumchus, everyone believes it should be nezek shalom. Elamai, now we're talking about crazy tzeroros, first time offense. Okay, that's just regular Karen. Regular Karen. Okay, regular Karen. I know regular Karen. We've been with regular Karen for the past 18 dapim. Very nice. Elamai, how does Rabbi Elazar say the nezek shalom? How could you say that you pay nezek shalom on that? Ma baya. He believes in what? Avtafon. He believes in Avtafon. Avtafon always said that you pay full nezek for Karen done in the domain of the nizak. And how do you pay it? meGufo. Everyone believes Gufo. Very nice. Who's angry with me? Oh, very nice. The other possible way of learning it is what? That this is crazy tzeroros that took place 3 times, right? And the machloikis is crazy tzeroros that developed into normal behavior. Do we say now you pay nezek shalom, or do we say no? It remains half because tzeroros is always doomed to pay half. That's a different machloikis, which Rava is not mechuyev to believe in, and Rava still has the liberty to ask the question about, I don't know, is nezek, chatzi nezek tzeroros 3 times tzeroros becomes more, doesn't become more. Don't tell me it's a mefursha brisa. It's a mefursha brisa with your explanation. My explanation is no, that this is the first time offense of crazy tzeroros, and the reason Rabbi Elazar says nezek shalom because the others are tarfon. Very nice. These are the 2 ways. Shall I chart it? Yeah, maybe if I have time today. Very busy day today. Maybe I'll try to make a chart attack. Amor. Okay, yeah.
Tzeroros have to be there.
Yeah, the line starts with the word kamiflagi. Yeah, we're about, I don't know, 10 or more lines from the top, or more maybe. Eimu, the shomat leila Rabbi Tarfon nezek shalom. It's true that we know Rabbi Tarfon holds of Keren shalom. That we know. Keren pays nezek shalom, even though it's first time offense. Why? Because it's in the domain of the nizak. But meGufo mishom aslei. How do you know Rabbi Tarfon holds that really you pay it meGufo? Maybe you all the time base. How did we answer the big question? How can you have what? A full nezek meGufo? Said Rabbi Tarfon. Rabbi Tarfon saves the day. Rabbi Tarfon combines them. It's considered as Keren. You obviously pay meGufo, but you pay nezek shalom because it's the happiest in the house. It's a bigger chutzpah in the house of the nizak. Says the Gemara. How do you know? How do you know Rabbi Tarfon really holds you pay meGufo? Maybe he believes you pay min aliyah. Maybe just like Rabbi Tarfon said that a first-time offense in the house of the nizak is so bad he pays nezek shalom. Maybe he also has to pay min aliyah. You all know, I assume, I'm just for the extra safety. Of course, we know that what's worse for the payer, for the damager, for the one that has to pay, Gufo or aliyah? Aliyah. Gufo means I'll pay you with the body of the dog. Take it. If my dog is worth 200 shekels, I'm the dog, and the nezek was 1,000. Great, I gained 800. Aliyah means no, you have to pay with the best, right?
That's for a dog.
For any animal.
No, the point is not of but it's a price.
In that case, he'll gain. Okay. meGufo mishamasle. Obviously. What you said is obvious. But still, if you pay me'aliyah, then you always have to pay full price. When you pay meGufo, it depends if it's a fashunken, a dog, or a good one. But aliyah is not. In any event, frag the Gemara, meGufo mishamasle. meGufo mishamasle. In other words, maybe really B'tarfon holds that you pay min aliyah for the first time offense, just like you pay full nezek. Says the Gemara, yes, I heard it. How do you know? Oh, now we're going to enter Rabbi Tarfon's land a bit deeper. Mehecha maisilo. Rabbi Tarfon, where did Rabbi Tarfon come up with the idea that you have to pay nezek sholem when you gored, or when your shore gored, or a dog bit in the house of the nizak? It's not simple logic of my house is my castle and this is a chutz by my domain. No, I kept saying it as half a joke now, and I did tell you the reason, and I'll say it again now. Mikeren mirshus harabim. What does that mean? Rabbi Tarfon says the follows. When the Torah talks about Shen v'regel, as Baruch reminded us very, very nicely, Shen v'regel says the Torah, Meitav, and what's the beginning of the pasuk? The shilach is beiroi, yeah, ubier bisnei acher, bisnei acher. Shen and regel are only chayiv in the field of the other person. In the street, in the middle of the street, my animals are allowed to walk and talk, walk and eat as much as they want, and then I'm not chayav on Shen v'regel. We'll see exceptions, not now. I'm not chayav on Shen v'regel. Right. What about Keren? The Torah never differentiated anything about Keren, never made a differentiation about Keren. Zek Rabbi Tarfon, wait a second. If Shen v'regel b'rshus harabim is potur, and yet b'rshus ha'nizak you pay nezek sholem, such a stark contrast between Rabim and Yochid, and Reshus Yochid from 0, whoop, it booms up to 100 when Shen v'regel, kol sheken Keren, that in Reshus ha'rabim was half nezek, yeah, right? In Reshus ha'nizak, all the more so should be nezek sholem. If 0 became nezek sholem in the domain of the nizak, then half for sure should become at least nezek sholem in the domain of the nizak. Is a very logical kal v'chomer of Rabbi Tarfon. That's what he holds. What Rabbanan said, we'll see later. Now it continues the Gemara. How does he know that Keren B'Reshus Yochid is full nezek from Keren B'Reshus Harabim, which is half? Dayoi labami nadin lios kenidon. Our friend Dayoi. Dayoi labami nadin lios kenidon means that the new item of the kal v'chomer can never be better than the old item. How does kal v'chomer work? I have one that's standing over here and he's X. The one that is more chomer, the new guy, the chomer one for sure should be more like that. Says Dayo means the new item that you learn, that you're now coming to be mechadish to learn, can never be more, can't be holier than thou, can't be more than the one that's already there, which means who's the new item we're learning now? Keren B'Reshus ha'nizak. And how do you know he pays nezek sholem? From Keren B'Reshus harabim. If Keren B'Reshus harabim pays half, B'Reshus ha'nizak, where everything seems to be stronger, of course he has to pay full. But wait a second, the one who's melamed, the nidoin and bami nadin, the one who's teaching, the old one, the one that's already established in the story, which is Keren in B'Reshus harabim, how does it pay? meGufo or min aliyah? Half nezek, Gufo. So too, the new guy who is really the Keren B'Reshus ha'nizak should not be better than him and stays the same low profile as paying only nezek meGufo and not min aliyah. Keren, of course, goes to Keren, avada. That's why. So in that respect, they stay the same. In numbers, we double the number. But when it comes to the way of payment, just like the good old guy, Keren B'Reshus harabim pays with Gufo, so to B'Reshus ha'nizak, with that we stay Gufo. We don't extrapolate, I think that's a good word, the kal v'chomer. Yeah, kal v'chomer means we add him to the group, but we don't make the new member bigger than the old member. We bring him to the club, that's all. How can you say that? That's not true. We just prove wrong. Rabbi Tarfon doesn't believe in the minimization, whatever, in the minimizing factor of Dayoy, because look at the numbers. Rabbi Tarfon does believe that the new guy is more than the old guy. The old guy, which is Keren B'Reshus harabim, pays half, and the new guy, Keren B'Reshus ha'nizak, pay full. That's double the amount. So he doesn't believe in the tzimtzum of Dayoy. And by the way, The reason why Chachomim argue on Rab Tarfon, little secret, yeah, Rab Tarfon, why do Chachomim not listen to the beautiful Kavachomim of Rab Tarfon? Why don't they say that nezek b'rshus hayochid should be full nezek right from the start? Because they say dayoy. They say dayoy before Shemishna. They say dayoy b'amnedin lios kenidon. In other words, we never make Kavachomer that extrapolate and add numbers or add chumrah. Kavachomer means just like X is chomor, so too the new guy Y should be as chomor, but not more chomor. So says the Gemara, you're talking kivyocha chas shalom shtuyot. What are you talking here? You're telling me no, Rabbi Tarfon doesn't believe in making the chomer greater. It stays on the same scale. That's not true. You see, when it comes to numbers, it did 50%. Right? From Keren B'Shus Rabi, which is half, he added Keren B'Shus Nizak, double, whole. So how can you say that? How come when it comes to the form of payment, to the modus of payment, it stays the same, it doesn't become bigger? Answers the Gemara. You know when he does believe in dayoy? When dayoy kills your kal v'chomer. That's chachamim. If he would say that dayoy, in numbers, dayoy comes and clips the wings of the nezek in Reshus HaYochid, how much would be the nezek b'Reshus HaYochid? Half nezek. So there's no kal v'chomer anymore, right? We always knew it's half nezek through and through. We always knew that Keren b'Reshus anybody, Yochid, Rabbi, and my grandma, it's always half nezek, regardless to where you are, right? Rabbi Tarfon says, I'm coming with the kal v'chomer to add the number. If you're going to lower the number, you're not going to stay with the kal v'chomer. You're going to stay without kal v'chomer. And my rabbi says, Rabbi Tarfon did teach me there's a kal v'chomer over here, and I'll fight for it. And if your dayoy kills my kal v'chomer because it says throughout all those reshus in the world, then I have no kal v'chomer anymore. I wasn't mechadish anything. Then I don't believe in the dayoy. But when I have a kal v'chomer, because I won the case, and now I have a kal v'chomer that made nezek b'rshus nizak in the private domain nizak to be paying full. Oh, I'm happy. Now I don't have to extrapolate on more things, such as the quality of payment. Here I'll stay quiet, and I'll back to minimizing mode, and I'll say just like there was Gufo, here too is Gufo. When the kal v'chomer is not being broken, islay dayoy. End of story. Then we have dayoy. Beautiful, easy peasy shiur, Baruch Hashem. And if it wasn't very easy, you can go online today, www.yourshiur.com, and hear me again, Imretz Hashem. You can ask questions online too, really, in the website. Shkoyach, thank you very much for a great week. Tomorrow, I think this week is easier. More about tzeroros for the next few days. Thank you very much.